New York, and on the new Hot 97 app. Ebro in the morning on Hot 97.
Ebro in the morning. It's time to get serious, though. About to get a COVID update. Let's give it up one time. We have Mayor Bill DeBlasio on the line. Round of applause. You know what I mean? How you doing, Bill?
Good morning. Good morning. You know what? We're all in this fight together.
Yep.
That's what I gotta say.
Well, you know, you were in a precarious situation last week. A lot of pressure from parents to shut down New York City schools, et cetera, but it's not quite that easy. A lot of people didn't have, I noticed in the media, people weren't really being responsible with the reporting of how many systems had to get aligned before you could make that call. And then people were mad that you didn't give them enough notice after you made the call.
Yeah, it was a horrible choice to have to make to begin with, because you're talking about 1 million kids who aren't going to be able to go to school.
That's right.
And there's no online learning in the world that can make up for being in school. But it's also, Ebro, it really was, some people, had plenty of options for their kids, and there wasn't an issue. There's a lot of people in the city had no other option for their child, a lot of, particularly a single parents, who it was going to create tremendous problems for. And then there's issues like kids who, that's where they get their food each day.
We reported on that every day, reminding the audience there's 100-something thousand kids in the city that literally have no food if they don't go to school.
So there's many factors. It was just a very tough, painful decision. But once I got to the point of feeling like there was no choice in terms of fighting this disease, the minute I believed that was our only option, that's when I told parents, and we made all the moves to set up the distance learning and provide food in other ways. But we had to get all that ready too. It was, very, very unsatisfying to say the least, because there was no good option.
Yeah, it was almost a lose-lose scenario in many ways, but it's the right thing.
It's the right thing, and I want to say the Department of Education, the folks who work there, they're doing an amazing job turning on a dime. They're going to be trying to, and I believe they will succeed, achieve something that's never been done in the history of New York City, have, an online learning system for 1 million kids from, out of nowhere, 0 to 60, setting that up for this coming Monday. And it's an amazing endeavor. It won't be perfect at first, but they are absolutely devoted to keeping kids educated the best we can, helping high school seniors to graduate on time. It's going to be a huge, huge undertaking. And listen to all the parents and aunties and uncles and grandparents, anyone who's listening, help our educators by working with the children in your life to really figure out how to be effective with that online learning, because we want kids to keep learning. Ebro, I've been honest about the fact that we're saying we want to come back April 20. We do want to come back April 20, but we could easily lose the whole school year.
And I think that's I think that's the most uncomfortable part for many people, which is living in a world where you literally don't know what the future plan is. But this is a new, I've been saying it's kind of a new normal, and we may get back to our old normal. But for the foreseeable future, people need to get their brain programmed and accept this new reality the best way they can. And stop trying to hold your breath and wait for things to come to it. We're only on, this is day 3?
I know. Mayor, what are we doing about the families who don't have access to Wi-Fi, who can't afford it? And how are all these kids how are they going to get computers or tablets?
Laura, it's a great question. And let me just say, first, coming into this answer, the new normal point, everyone, we got to be real. This is going to fundamentally change all of our lives for months. It's just a question of how many months. And everyone needs to help each other, and everyone needs to make really, really profound adjustments. It's not going to be anything like normal. And I don't know. I think in our time, in our history, recent generations, we haven't had to do anything like this. Our ancestors had to do things like this a lot, unfortunately. They went through wars and depressions and all that. People all over the world right now who are migrating from country to country to avoid violence. There's plenty of people in the world who have dealt with this kind of disruption even worse. But for Americans today, it's a really, really unsettling reality. For all of us in New York, it's a shock. So I think the more you guys can say to people, hey, we've left normal way behind now, we all have to get to a new place together, it's very helpful. But on the point, Laura, you're raising, what the Department of Education is doing, and a lot of tech companies and, communications companies are working with them on this, is putting tablets and every conceivable, whatever kind of devices we can get in the hands of kids over these next days, so that kids who don't have them, they'll be lent them by the Department of Education. The problem is connectivity. There's a lot of kids, that's great, you got the device, but you don't have
Wi-Fi.
Service.
That's right.
Right. And the places you might have gone, if your school wasn't open, a lot of those places are shutting down or have shut down. So it's not a perfect scenario. And that's part of why when I made the decision, I was trying to say to people, I was really, really clear about how much we were going to lose in terms of the education of our children. Because even the best distance learning, so much for distance learning if you don't have internet.
But DeBlasio, the people we hear from and that show up to the town halls and community boards, and the people who write the stories in the newspapers and perpetuate this idea that you could have just shut down the schools and made that call quick, they have access to Wi-Fi. They have access to the resources. They're not. What we're seeing right now when we hear these things are not people that are in touch with the hundreds of thousands of kids and families in this city that do not have. They don't care about them. They're not worried about them, and they're not trying to find solutions for them. So,
Ebro, they don't understand. At minimum, they don't understand. And what I have found, this is consistently talk about Tale of Two Cities. When I ran for mayor, I talked about this. There are many people who have loud voices, important voices in this city. A lot of people who are interpreting what's going on in media. I'm not saying they don't care. I'm saying they don't understand because they don't live it.
Well, you're nicer than me.
Struggle. But I think it's important.
That's why you're the mayor.
Different value, different judgment, perhaps, but the underlying point is equally powerful. It's literally like a tale of two cities. There's so many people I talk to who cannot conceive of the fact that there are millions of people in this city who don't have the basics that more middle class or upper middle class people take for granted. We talk about everything that we've been talking about over years now: paid sick leave and paid vacation time, and things like, do you have internet service? Do you have, a laptop or a device? It's literally like there are people in this town that cannot conceive that other people don't have it. But the problem is there are millions of people who are living this life without a lot of these things. There are millions of people who are used to having to do without, and other people can't conceive of doing without. And the conversation almost proceeds on two different tracks. So as the person has to make a decision for 8.6 million people, I am thinking about those who have and those who do not have. And it's a tough balance to strike. And as we go forward, I want to just take you into the next step. We're talking about whether something like shelter-in-place might happen here. Here's the challenge, even with shelter-in-place. There are many people right now who have no money.
That's right.
People right now have lost their livelihood, and they don't have, any one of us who has ever had, only double digits in our bank account, for those who have only had, days of reserves in terms of money and don't know what you're going to do when the money runs out. Right now you've got folks, already so many folks out of work. Already so many folks are using up what little money they have. You go into shelter in place, the problem is going to be how are people going to pay for food, how are they going to pay for medicine. Now, I'm someone who thinks we have to take shelter in place very seriously as an option because this disease is bearing down on us.
Well, what I feel like when I hear you bring up shelter in place is you're trying to get people's minds prepared for the concept. But then yesterday, Cuomo was on with his brother on CNN and was pushing in the other direction, like he's the one that makes the final call. So we're kind of, at least the media is playing you guys as you're arguing again. What's the truth?
No, I don't accept that. No, first of all, throughout this entire situation, weeks and weeks, the state and the city have been very well coordinated. I think the governor's handled the situation, the state's handled the situation right. We've agreed on all the big decisions. So I don't accept that. What I was trying to do is exactly what you said, mentally, emotionally, humanly prepare people for something that might be happening soon. It's a decision that can only be made with the state, and that's fine. I'm very comfortable with that. And it's something we're all going to be talking through. But I want people to start to get into their minds, because one of the things I want to quote a wise person, our First Lady, and Shirlane said to me the other day, remember that people need to get acclimated to new things. They need time to get used to things. It's just human. And to give people a heads up that this is starting to happen around America, and this could well be where we end up. But to also be honest that if we can't make up for and sort of find a way to compensate for the reality of folks who have no money for food, no money for medicine, who may not, have a place to turn when they need those prescription meds, we've got to put all those structures in place immediately if there's any possibility of shelter in place, because it alters the whole pattern of things. You have a lot more people who don't have work, obviously. And I think the thing that's being missed in this conversation nationally is that the amount of dislocation, human dislocation right now, the fact that people's lives economically are falling apart, I think it's going to be comparable, not to the Great Recession, but the only thing we'll be able to compare it to is the Great Depression. And that's painful, but it's also instructive. What did the government do during the Great Depression? It did the New Deal. It went deep, deep, deep into people's lives. Well, a huge amount of money in people's pockets.
And that's what that's what Trump and his team were kind of proposing yesterday, is that there's going to be a stimulus in the next 14 days where Americans will start receiving money.
And they need to do it on a huge level, not $1,000 once, because that's not going to go very far for a whole lot of folks.
Because it's different from state to state. And I'm just worried about the people who cannot pay rent. What happens when New Yorkers cannot pay their rent?
Exactly. And although we have real progress, this is important, on stopping evictions. We said to everyone living in public housing, everyone living in the affordable housing we sponsor, no more evictions. The court system has said for the time being, they're shutting down in general, so there's going to be no more evictions. The real estate board said for the next, I think it was 3 months, there'll be no more evictions. Obviously, you should pay the rent if you can. If you can't pay the rent, people can figure out how to pay it later on. But so long as we stop evictions, that means that people can have the security of staying in their apartment. But that's great. If we get that taken care of, what about food? What about medicine? What about everything else? And that's what we have to figure out.
Yeah.
Now, has Con Ed suspended billing people? Because I know PSE&G and Atlantic City Electric, or whatever it's called down there in Jersey, has said they're not billing people for the next, I think, 60 days.
I don't know about Con Ed, but what I do know is a lot of utilities are ensuring they will not cut people off for non-payment. We'll get the
Well, that's what I meant. Cut people off for non-payment. The billing will still happen, and they'll figure out a way to charge you later.
Correct. I mean, that's what we're doing, on water, on certainly the city in terms of water. What I think most utilities are doing, and they should do it, obviously, and anyone who isn't, we got to make sure they do it. You cannot take away the basics from people. So, yes, Con Ed I just got confirmed, Con Ed has suspended service shutoffs.
Got it. Now, my next question, and the reason I wanted to have you on today, I'm going to have Governor Phil Murphy on next, and we're going to have Mayor of Jersey City, Stephen Fulop, on. I wanted to get a grade from you on how New York City is handling the curfew after you implemented it yesterday.
Not a curfew. Hold on. We do not.
Or what is it called? A 10 p.m.?
I want to be careful that there's not a misunderstanding. Jersey is doing certain things.
Right.
But New York City, what we have right now, we have obviously the ban on people dining out, but you can still do delivery and you can still do pickup. That's in place. Obviously, we've done a lot of telecommuting and telling people they should telecommute. A lot of our public workforce is now telecommuting. A lot of the private sector is now telecommuting. We've got a lot of measures. We've told people, stay home and you don't need to be outside. But we have not gone to the level yet of the things that are potential under my emergency declaration, which would be things like curfew, things like travel restrictions. We're not there yet. And again, we're obviously trying to coordinate closely with the state.
And so the ban is mostly on restaurant, but gyms, you can't. Gyms are closed also, so any gathering space larger than 50 people.
Theaters, movies, there's all sorts of things. And the fact is, that we have to keep people from congregating in large numbers, and we have to have social distance. And I think that's, just to make it very real and human. Right now, and I know a lot of people still need to work, they need a livelihood, but we're asking people, if there's any way, some people can work from home, other people can't work from home. If you have no choice, you still want to really practice the social distancing, stay, 3 to 6 feet away from people as much as you humanly can. All the basic hygiene stuff, washing the hands all the time, hand sanitizer, cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze, all of that. But the option for anyone who can stay home, you should stay home to the maximum. It doesn't mean you can't get some exercise outside or run or walk or whatever, but you still want social distancing, whatever you do. And here's the other thing, Ebro. I talked to Dr. Fauci a couple of days ago, and this is one of the only people on the national level who's keeping it together for our country. And by the way, Brooklyn and proud Dr. Fauci. He's grew up in Brooklyn, and you can hear it in his voice. So he said, look, if you got one of those pre-existing conditions, which is cancer, diabetes, lung disease, serious heart disease, or an immunity challenge, your immune system's compromised, you should, especially if you're over 50, you just need to avoid contact with people to the maximum extent possible, and don't even think about going near anyone who's sick. So, grandma or grandpa wants to see their grandchild, but their grandchild has the sniffles. Don't even think about it.
Don't even think about it.
That's dangerous. It's dangerous because the people we're losing.
That's right.
So let's be clear about coronavirus. 80% of people will feel very little. Most healthy people under 50 will feel very little. But if you have that, one of those 5 major diseases or more than one, you're in danger. If you're over 50 and you have one of those 5 major diseases, you're in particular danger. That's pretty much the vast majority of people we're losing. But Dr. Fauci said for those folks, you just want to absolutely minimize human contact the best you can.
That's right.
Call people on the phone, FaceTime, whatever. He also said if you're over 70 and you're healthy, it's still smart to take those precautions because folks over 70 are certainly, even if they're healthy, they're going to be more vulnerable than younger folks by definition.
Now, Mayor, you've made sure and made it clear there is not a curfew, but no. I have a question. Do people have to be inside by 10 p.m.? What are the rules on this?
Oh, that would be a curfew, and we do not have a curfew at this
okay.
point. And different places are doing different things, and I'm not familiar with everything that Jersey's doing, but New York City is not doing that. New York State's not doing that today. But, Ebro, the other thing is, and I really urge people to do it, the we text option and everything else. So 3 places, Ebro, I imagine you heard the rumor a few days ago that Manhattan was being quarantined and the bridges were being shut. I mean, people had all sorts of stuff out there.
That's right.
Don't buy, my friend texted me and said there's a bunch. No, there's actually places you can turn for information. 311, 24/7, you can call 311 in multiple languages and get the facts. Or if you need help, you can call them and they'll tell you where to get help. If you want to get details on what's going on, you can go online, nyc.gov/coronavirus. And then if you want updates sent to you, you simply text the word COVID, COVID, to 692-692. I'm going to say it again, COVID to 692-692. You will get constant text sent to you with the latest accurate information from our emergency management office. If you want it in Espanol, you can text COVIDESP to 692-692 and get those updates. Believe what is the official information, not the rumor mill, or everyone's going to really get bad information and get misled.
There you go. Mayor Bill DeBlasio, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
You see what happened to your Patriots, man. Era's done, man. The era's over, man.
I don't understand it.
Tom Brady has left the building. All good things come to an end, Mayor. Your Patriots are a wrap out here. Finish it. Close it up. Close up shop.
This too shall pass, brother.
Get out of here, bro. God. out of here. Mayor Bill DeBlasio.
Thank you, Mayor.
One time.
Take care.
Thank you very much, man.